Which countries don't seem dangerous, but really are? Norway. Each year quite a lot of tourists die here because they underestimate the nature. People come here to get some amazing pictures like they've seen online and then don't realize that you need appropriate clothes gear, and that you should probably not take a selfie at the edge of a giant drop. Also, since it's regularly asked in Norway, no, you can't just go hiking in northern Norway in the winter without ski snowshoes, especially not in avalanche-prone areas. I live in the Netherlands, and I'd say it's quite safe for tourists here. And then I remembered the time I was visiting Amsterdam and saw a sign warning tourists about some stupid gang selling white heroin as cocaine. Don't fall for the myth that anything goes in Amsterdam, people. Hard drugs are as illegal and unsafe as anywhere else. New Zealand. We don't have any animals, insects or snakes etc. that will kill you. But we got the most amazing hole in our ozone layer. White people will get sunburnt within 30 minutes in the summer unprotected. I get sunburnt within 15. If I spent a whole day in the sun without protection, I'd be willing to bet I'd still be sunburnt peeling a month later. Australia. I've met plenty of European tourists who have wanted to just drive through the outback while being woefully underprepared. Just basic stuff like not knowing what to do in an emergency and not having enough water. It's not a joke. People die out there all the time, and it'll be 40 C and hundreds of kilometers before you see someone again if something goes wrong. Traffic in Thailand and Vietnam. One of the highest rates of traffic fatalities in the world. Sweden, for example, it's all sleek design and meatballs until you stumble into a moose traffic jam. Jamaica. Scotland. We're fucking lethal. Trinidad, the capital, has some of the most dangerous places on Earth. While I wouldn't say dangerous, Ireland has a strong and growing antisocial behavior problem that is not being sufficiently addressed. Nepal. Climbing the world's highest mountains is a big seasonal tourist draw, but a certain percentage always die trying. Reading this thread, maybe I should just stay home. Canada. They've got geese. The Netherlands. You'd be surprised about the amount of human trafficking that happens here. Honestly, we should be able to submit parts of the USA here, because Arizona gets its fair share of people who don't believe you can become dangerously overheated and dehydrated even on a trail within city limits. Especially in the summer. I don't even know why people come then. Phoenix hit 120 F regularly in the summer. If you can't fathom how hot that feels, great, please don't hike here in the summer. Yes, the scenery is gorgeous. There are trails everywhere. It's also literally a desert and hotter than anywhere else you've ever been. Thailand. Ukraine. I'm kind of happy that tourists still come and leave here their money, but I don't understand them. Canada. They are so friendly, but they also have moose lurking in the woods just waiting for you to let your guard down. Belgium. I've never traveled outside of Europe, but I've never felt as unsafe as I did in Brussels. Charleroi wasn't that great either. However, Flanders was super nice and clean. ITT. People letting you know that cities have bad neighborhoods. Many parts of the United States. For example, New Orleans has a higher murder rate and overall crime than many cities in Mexico, but we have this perception of Mexico being dangerous and New Orleans as a fun party spot that you can get blackout drunk on the streets and stay safe in. Edit. Some of y'all are really taking this to me saying Mexico is not dangerous instead of New Orleans is very dangerous. It's literally nestled with Mexican cities and in the top 20 dangerous cities worldwide. Reading comprehension is wild. Germany. One wrong word in the Frankfurt-Offenbach area, and you'll get FKED up real bad. Iceland, perhaps? Earth can crack apart, swallow you whole and create a new volcano anytime? Danish. When they win in soccer they go apes hit, drunk and violent. There is no telling what they are capable of. A few answers here are seriously failing that don't seem dangerous part of the deal. Who was ever saying that Mexico, Brazil, Egypt and India were super safe places? Japan. It's a very safe country, but if you're trying to enjoy the nightlife, you have to watch out for shady promoters, scammers who will try to pull you into their bars and then steal your money. The USA. Europeans don't quite understand the sheer scale of our nature and wildlife. Backpacking here isn't taking a paved trail between quaint mountain chalets. Without any wildlife worse than a grumpy badger, it's being the only soul for miles of rough wilderness with no cell service, and potentially mountain lions and grizzly bears. If you really want the true American wilderness experience, I've heard Gates of the Arctic National Park is that to the extreme. You may have to fly into the park on a bush plane. Germany. In the last century, they went to war twice. And both times they chose as their opponent the world. It pains me to say it, but Mexico. It's super sketchy at best. Ultra-violent at worst. And do not store your backpack on the overhead shelf on the bus between Playa del Carmen and Cancun. Anything valuable will be gone by the time you arrive. Japan is certainly not dangerous in the grand scheme of things, but I think the OMG it's so safe thing is dramatically overhyped. The fact is that incidents in Japan simply do not get reported to the police. As an American who lived there for 4 years, I encountered a fair bit of sketchy situations: drunken violent misbehavior, outright physical abuse in families, couples, blatant theft, stalking, etc. Not one of those incidents was reported to the police. You won't ever got shot or mugged in Japan, but you certainly should maintain situational awareness. Everyone told me Barcelona was extremely safe, no sexual harassment, lovely to women. I'm not joking, or exaggerating when I say from the moment I left my Airbnb, literally within the hour of leaving I'd be hit on at least once. An hour until I went home, like gross comments. I was followed home twice. Like every third dude winked at me. I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I would not go back alone, lol. New Zealand. The amount of gangs here, the amount of power they have, the lack of strong laws and lack of rehabilitation. Australia keeps expelling their gang leaders to NZ. The police are powerless and heavily under-resourced. Many are migrating to Australia for a better life. People are starting to get the message, and low socio-economic people are now attacking, robbing, assaulting, doing ram raids, even attempted murder, and the worst they get is home detention. Add to that the severe drop in quality of education that plays a big role in the above. This should just be renamed How to Give Anxiety to Travelers thread. The world is as dangerous as you make it. Belgium. I've never traveled outside of Europe, but I've never felt as unsafe as I did in Brussels. Charleroi wasn't that great either. However, Flanders was super nice and clean. Not a country, but Hawaii has tons of tourists drown every year. The water is no joke. Waves that crash right on the shoreline break necks and backs. I would call myself a strong swimmer, and I've been pulled about a quarter mile out to sea before I got out of the rip current. Scotland easily. Most people think, oh wow, pretty, but we have a massive drug and alcohol abuse problem, which leads to a whole load of hopped-up junkies causing shit. Not to forget being generally not being well off, poverty breeding crime and all that. Canada. Lots of crazies here. Canadian wilderness, we got grizzly bears, moose, cougars, Canada geese, wolves, coyotes, beavers, they are territorial porcupines, the list goes on. In many people's eyes, Sweden don't seem dangerous. But if you are in the wrong neighborhood, it definitely is. Japan is considered much safer than many countries for sure, but in turn it gives a false sense of security. I've seen many videos of women tourists going to stores alone at night, preaching the country's safeness in it. Meanwhile, the comments of the videos are full of native Japanese women warning them to not do that. It's the country that had to resort to women train only, and obligatory phone camera shutter sound, after all. Besides that, I'm sure it's a much safer country in general, but yeah. You shouldn't be careless even in a safer country.